Japan, especially the big city areas such as Tokyo, has one of the most expensive commercial car parking lots in the entire world. And while many other densely populated cities, which boast expensive parking fees, rather explicitly state their sky-high parking fees in a straightforward basis, there is so much intricate, let's just call it wordplay, conducted by the commercial car parking companies in Japan in order to trick the consumers into paying more than they have originally anticipated, in a fashion that even the world's most renowned complex financial derivatives expert would be proud of. So let's find it all out in today's video.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm a Waseda University Poli-Sci and Economics graduate.
And I'm Helen, and I majored in Japanese language in university.
And welcome to today's video. In this channel, we aim to introduce you guys many of the interesting aspects of Japan that you may not have heard of before. I'm in charge with most of the research and presenting on the channel, while Helen is in charge with most of the beautiful thumbnails and editing that you see on the channel.
それでは行きましょう。
I remember when I came to Japan for the first time. Although I lived my first few months of my life at the university-owned dormitory located in this area called Kasai, which is actually located near the Chiba prefecture, I soon moved out only after the first semester because of just how far the dorm was from the uni. The dorm community between the students was actually honestly so nice, and I'm actually sad that it got demolished. The building actually got demolished a few years ago, mainly just because of how old the dorm building was. But at the same time, I was super excited to have my own place, regardless of how tiny it was, that was right next to the uni. And a Japanese friend of mine, whose uncle had a car, was nice enough to drive me to one of the IKEA stores located in the Chiba prefecture of Japan for me to buy the necessary furniture. And because Chiba is quite far from the inner Tokyo area, we got hungry and had to stop by to get some food. With Chiba being a relatively spacious, outer Tokyo seaport city, I asked my friend if we could pull up in one of the empty side roads while we go into the convenience store to buy some food quickly. However, my friend told me that that cannot be done in Japan, regardless of how empty the streets may look on the facade, as there are always these quote-unquote green ninja combos who always work in pairs and will pop up exactly within 30 seconds to give you a parking ticket. And this is where I received a bit of a culture shock. For most of the countries in which I have lived and visited in the past, briefly parking near the road for around 2 to 5 minutes was not such a big deal. As in, if you go to Seoul, South Korea, you'll see cars always parked around chaotically in any vacant space where a car can be possibly squeezed into. But in Japan, you'll never see this. In fact, you'll most likely never see a civilian car just parked along the road in Japan, ever, for that matter, during the time you visit the country. This actually aids to the aesthetic nature of the overall clean, tidy landscape that most people are surprised of and love when they first come to Japan. And I would love to say that this manifestation is a result of the collective spirit of the Japanese people to maintain their public spaces in the most cleanest of states, and perhaps such collective spirit does aid to a degree. However, the reality of the matter is that there is hardly any cars parked in undesignated spots in Japan because the Japanese people are more than afraid of the green parking ticket ninjas, who are literally ninjas, by the way, in how fast they appear out of nowhere, regardless of how empty and countryside-ish the area seems to be. And if they can pop up like that in the countryside, you can only imagine how fast they can teleport themselves into existence in the big cities such as Tokyo. So this means that drivers in Japan, especially in the big cities such as Tokyo, the drivers have no option but to utilize private commercial parking spots that are located around the city whenever they take their cars outside. And if the green parking ticket ninjas are not enough of a source of fear for many drivers in Japan already, another large source of fear for many drivers is the trickery and the word loophole in which the commercial car parking spots utilize in order to squeeze out the extra sum of cash from the driver as much as possible. Simply said, you almost never pay the amount of parking fees that you thought you were originally going to pay based on the instructions on the board in the case of Japan. Especially for foreigners who are not yet comfortable with the Japanese language, this is almost inevitable. Let me provide you with some examples. Please have a look at this board. If you have a look at the big words within the board, the words 24 hours and 1,600 yen stands out. So the average driver who was looking around for a multiple day parking spot may initially think, sounds simple enough. From 8 a.m. until 10 p.m., it costs 300 yen for 30 minutes. And in the night hours between 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., it costs 200 yen for an hour of parking. But for people who are looking to park their cars for longer time spans, such as for 24 hours or for multiple days, it provides a fixed discount cost of 1,600 yen for 24 hours. So, this is the type of thinking that an average driver will think when they look at this board for the first time. And 1,600 yen or $12 for a 24-hour parking spot doesn't sound too bad, right? But here's the caveat. The 1,600 yen for 24 hours aspect only applies to the initial 24 hours in which you have parked your car. What does that mean? It means that if you're thinking of parking your car for 48 hours, you would not be paying 3,200 yen. For example, if you have parked your car in this particular parking lot at 8 a.m. in the morning on a Monday and take it out on 10 p.m. of Tuesday, meaning that you've parked your car in the lot for combined hours of 38 hours, you'll be paying an outrageous sum of 10,000 yen for not even 2 days worth of parking. This is because after the initial 24 hours in which you have parked your car, you'll be charged in the 300 yen for 30 minutes fee structure until the very moment you take your car out. So for a driver who was initially thinking of parking their car for 2 days or 48 hours and pay 3,200 yen, which is basically 1,600 yen times it by 2, this is not going to happen. In fact, again, you'll be paying 12,000 yen rather than the 3,200 yen in which you have expected based on the information from the board. Let me give you guys with another type of example in which Japanese commercial parking lot owners like to use often, and that is not specifying the circumstances of exactly when the discounted price will be applied. Let's have a look at this board. It looks rather simple, right? 400 yen for 15 minutes between the hours 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. and 400 yen for 60 minutes between the hours 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. Let's imagine that you are driving around in the middle of Tokyo at 8:30 p.m. and looking for a place to park your car because you've been invited to stay over at your friend's house for the night during the weekend. You'd think perhaps, okay, no problem. I'm parking my car now at 8:30 p.m. So from now until 9 p.m., I'll be paying 400 yen times it by 2, which is 800 yen. And from then onwards until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'll be paying the discounted nighttime fees of 600 yen from 9 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next day. So count all that up, a total fee of 1,400 yen. Not bad. And while such a scenario is how any rational individual would think, this is not the case. If you have a closer look at the board, there are tiny words on the bottom right side of the board which states the discounted nighttime price structure will only be applied to drivers who come into the parking lot after 9 p.m., meaning that if you have already parked your car before 9 p.m., you are not eligible for the special price that is provided as a nighttime discount, which is 600 yen, beginning from 9 p.m. until 8 a.m., and will have to pay 400 yen for every 60 minutes of parking. So this means that if you have parked your car indeed at 8:30 p.m., slept over at your friend's place, woke up and drove out at 8 a.m. the next day from the parking lot, you will be paying 5,000 yen rather than the anticipated fee of 1,400 yen. If you think that's bad enough, please wait and check this one out. If you see the board here, you can clearly see that it has the words 1,400 yen emphasized with large red words. And that is to state to the drivers that this parking lot has, quote unquote, fixed maximum price, as in the amount the driver has to pay cannot go beyond that of 1,400 yen. Sounds good, right? But once again, here is the caveat. This structure only applies until the midnight of the very same day in which the driver has parked their cars, meaning that beginning from after midnight on the next day after 24 a.m., there is no such thing as the 1,400 yen price limit guarantee. So as you can see from this table, although you've technically only stayed 24 hours, rather than paying 1,400 yen, you'll be paying 3,000 yen. And again, there are just so many variations of such situations in Japanese parking lots that we can go on and on and on. And with commercial parking lots in Japan being so expensive, you believe that they probably come with some perks, such as providing good security for your car, or being responsible insurance-wise if anything happens to your car while it is parked there, right? Unfortunately, that is wrong. Japanese commercial parking lot companies and owners are famous for not providing any type of compensation whatsoever for any type of accident or damages which has occurred within their lots. This may sound rather insane to many other car owners around the world, as parking lots are statistically a very high accident area for drivers in any country, and the private landowners of the lots usually compensate at least partial fees for damages which has occurred within their lots. I believe that all of this actually led to large public dissent in regards to the entire commercial parking industry in Japan, with petitions being signed and submitted by many car owners in Japan. But as you guys already know, not much is going to change in Japan anytime soon. I believe that many of the subscribers on our channel are probably also subscribers of the channel Pewdiepie and really enjoy his life in Japan vlogs that he's posting regularly these days. And one of the more prominent, attractive facets of his life in Japan vlogs is seeing him drive in the rather clean and aesthetic roads of Tokyo, either on his Toyota or his Tesla. And just by seeing how dreamy the overall experience of living in Japan looks based on his vlogs, many people who are perhaps already living in Japan may just take that financial plunge and purchase a car in Japan. However, beyond the dreamy facade of driving in the sophisticated city of Tokyo are these commercial trickeries that even the most accepting and agreeable Japanese person often feel large antipathy towards. And that is these play with words that are so prominent in most of Japanese city parking lots that attempts to squeeze additional fees out of you without you even knowing anything about it prior, in this furtive, indirect fashion. So if you are to ever drive in Japan and inevitably have to utilize a commercial parking space, make sure to read the board signs very, very carefully, especially the small letters that are written on a rather inconspicuous fashion. Even better, if you speak excellent Japanese or have a Japanese friend who does so, it would be a good idea to take a photo and send it to your friend in order for them to check if you have placed yourself in one of the parking lots that is likely going to charge you far more for parking than what you have previously anticipated. Thank you for watching today's episode of Aaron and Helen Explains Japan. If you like this video, please make sure to give the video a like and a subscribe, as well as follow us along in other social media platforms as well. The links will be provided down below. And most of all, if you are interested in understanding why the average Japanese psyche operates in such unique ways, which then subsequently leads to byproduct manifestations, all the way from its eccentric parking lot fee structure to the average person consuming and producing so much pornography, please check out our book, where we take a 47,000 word research journey into understanding the intricate Japanese psyche. You will also definitely be helping us out and keep this channel alive as well. Thank you so much for your support. With that said,
皆さんありがとうございました。We'll see you guys again soon on the next episode.
Bye
Bye bye.